Hey guys, I'm back. Okay, this is going to be update number 3, excuse me, on Florence. The media, at least AccuWeather's reporting it to be Category 4 storm. I'm sure probably Weather Channel is too, because they get their script from the National Weather Service. But as you can see, if you use these two, this automatic icon plus the HER model, the wind speed's no more than This is sustained wind speed at 10 meters above the ground. So we're looking in the 70s, barely a hurricane. This explains the models. All right, they get their data. They measure altitude 10 meters above the ground. The models are run by NOAA, GFS, and HRRR. Now this is a hybrid model, so this is telling you how they calculate wind speed. So they only use a 1 minute average on these models, NOAA, GFS, and HER. However, the remaining models, this is on Venture Sky, and I'll show you Gem in a minute, which is a Canadian model. The Icon and Gem calculated with a 10-minute average. So this can cause differences between each models. The value of the highest 1 minute sustained wind is about 14% greater than a sustained wind measured over a 10-minute period. So there you go. I would say that taking a 10-minute average over a 1 minute average would be more accurate. The way I view it anyway. Now here's the GEM model. And you can see, same deal. Wind speeds aren't that high, but they're calculated over a 10-minute average. If you go to the GFS model, which is the one I'm sure they lean to, but even that model, you calculate the wind speeds, and I'll bump it in a little closer. You're still only looking at tops around 102, 106 I saw in there, 107. So that's still only a Cat 2 storm. There's no way it's freaking Cat 4. I mean, I don't know how these people get on there and lie like they do. They're just total shills. They'll say whatever the government tells them to say. Pretty much same way with all the fake news we see. If you have any awareness at all, the fake news is all scripted too. Like for instance, even the local news, they'll all have the same talking points and the same stories, especially when it gets around to being a national level, or it can be more a general story. So anyway, let me click that back out, and I'm going to show you windy. Same deal. Okay, I got it on the European model. I would suspect that the European model uses probably a 10-minute average as well, but I can't be certain. But anyway, that's the highest wind speed I could find on this European model, 84 miles an hour. So there we got the Category 1 hurricane. Now here's the water vapor. And this is what they fear, because they want this storm to strengthen. Make no mistake about it. I would even say they're probably chem bombing it as it goes to try to counter all this dry air, because the dry air has acidic acid in it from vinegar, and the chemtrails have alkaline based. They're basically based primarily with alkaline salts, because alkaline salts draw moisture in, and therefore they help to form clouds. And then of course they have a lot of nanoparticles of aluminum, strontium, barium, and whatnot in there, and who knows what else, that they can help to strengthen the storm by raising its temperature or moving it around. I mean, they've had this geoengineering stuff patented since way back in the 60s. And if you look at the links below my video in the comment section, I'll provide the evidence, all the evidence you need, and about the acidic acid and the alkaline salts. So anyway, all this yellow and orange, it's all dry air. They represented on the satellites by air temperature. But this is at the lowest levels of the troposphere, which goes up to, this is what I put under my last video. This is a definition of the troposphere. It's the lowest layer of your atmosphere. That extends upward to about 10 kilometers or 6.2 miles, 33,000 feet above sea level. Most of the clouds appear here. So, and there's the link. Put a good link to this is a great channel, the HARP report, and they're detailing these classified CIA weather warfare documents. And then here I have the link for the severe weather protection, and then that's a link to the GOES satellite, which doesn't really come up too well because YouTube messes with the link. Same with this link, but if you follow the instructions, you can get to it. Plus, I'll link it up here, the GOES satellite link, up in the description box. But anyway, that's how that works. Now here I got you pulled up on, this is Venture Sky on the CAPE index. This is the atmospheric potential energy index. Now, like I was explaining with the acidic acid and the alkaline salts based chemtrail clouds or chem clouds, what happens is when the alkaline salts react with the chemtrails, that creates a chemical reaction because they're polar opposites chemically, and the acidic acid is attracted like a bullet to this alkaline salts based chemtrail clouds. And so when the chemical reaction takes place, that lowers the atmospheric potential energy. So you can see there's not a lot of atmospheric potential energy around this Florence, and that's why it's not getting any stronger. Plus the precipit's low too, I'll show you that. But what they're counting on is once it gets into here, which is inside their parameters of their frequency emitter, that's stationed somewhere out here. If you extrapolate the lines, somewhere out here, maybe in the ocean, where they've been pumping frequency into the atmosphere over the entire United States and northern Mexico. This has been going on since at least last year when I discovered it, when I was tracking Harvey. So this is my worst fear for this storm Florence. Just like Harvey, it really wasn't that strong. I believe it got up to maybe 90. That was the top wind speed. And of course, they were reporting it to be a Cat 3 or a Cat 4, I forget. But they were grossly exaggerating it. As you can see, these are the joules per kilogram. Okay, this measures the heat energy in the atmosphere. So the more joules per kilogram, the more heat, the more potential for these storms to explode. So you can see the straight lines. So there's obviously something going on here where they're pumping frequency into the atmosphere. So let me get back to Harvey. Okay, it made landfall at Rockport. It really didn't do a whole lot of damage, and there really wasn't that much rain. And then all of a sudden it stalled. and then it just crept along the coast till it got up to around Houston. And at that point, it stalled for like 2 days. And all of a sudden, they started chem bombing this storm because from this one single point here where I have my mouse hand, it was just spewing clouds and spewing rain from right this one point for like 2 days straight. So they were just chem bombing the crap out of that one point. I guess from their models, they figured that that was the best spot to do it from, and there was still a lot of moisture in the Gulf that would feed it. So that's what happens. They get these moisture rich atmospheric rivers, and then they exploit them with chem bombs. I mean, it happened just this week when Gordon came ashore. It really didn't do that much, and it didn't have a lot of precip associated with it till it got up around here. Then all of a sudden, there's some kind of an atmospheric river got tapped, and once it moved into here, and I'm up in Pittsburgh, we got hammered by a lot of rain. And even with acidic acid put out, it still was hard to overcome. So I would recommend anybody that living in North Carolina and South Carolina, and even the neighboring states, and even back in here, go buy some vinegar at Walmart. It's $2.48 a gallon. I mean, spend $10 or whatever. If enough people do it, if 100 people spend $10, that's 1,000 gallons of vinegar. That should be well enough to keep the rain from this Florence way down, because that's what they're going to do. And they're already saying it. They've been saying it, and the models also reflect it, that it's going to park itself offshore, and then they're going to start pumping in the chem bombs, and they're going to try to flood this whole entire region. I mean, at least that's what I'm getting from Black-Eyed Barney Reyna on the AccuWeather channel. And I'm sure Jim Clowntory and Stephanie Pegs Abrams saying the same thing on the Weather Channel. So here's the precip model for GFS. Right now it doesn't look too bad, but like I said, it didn't look too bad for Harvey either until it reached a certain point, and then all of a sudden the thing stalled, and then they just turned on the spigot. So here's the rain for a 3-hour period. This is still offshore at 8 a.m. Thursday. 11 a.m. doesn't move. And by the way, you can see the wind speeds even on this GFS model, which only calculates at 1 second. 1 second mean average to get the top wind speed. It's still only 107, which is category 2, which I showed you here. So anyway, I'm running out of time here. So let's bump it up to 2 p.m. We're going to put it back on the precip because this miles per hour is not going to change. In fact, it's going to go down since now it's starting to encounter land. And this is still 3-hour averages. So far it looks pretty good. I mean, there's enough acetic acid here to, and I'll pump this one up. This is the Cape Index. We'll pump it up to Thursday. So 2 p.m. Thursday. So you can see the Cape Index is rather low. So fortunately, hopefully there's going to be enough vinegar put out to kill this storm. There's going to be some wind damage, no doubt. And there's going to be some rain and flooding, but nowhere near Cat 4 strength is what they're talking about. That's just not going to happen. So there's Thursday at 2 p.m. for windy on the European model. You can see the wind speed.